This coin almost ended up in a laundromat coin machine, but instead, it sold for nearly $2 million. Imagine holding a quarter in your hand. Just 25 cents. The kind of coin you drop in a parking meter without even thinking twice. But what if I told you that one specific quarter, a 1995 Washington quarter, could be worth up to $1.8 million today? Collectors call it one of the most breathtaking discoveries of modern American coinage. And the story behind it is as shocking as the value itself. In 1995, at the Philadelphia Mint, millions of Washington quarters were struck. They were supposed to be ordinary, simple pocket change. But among the endless stream of silver-colored coins pouring off the presses, something went wrong. A rare minting mistake slipped through the cracks, a mistake so small that most people would never notice it. But those who did, unlocked a fortune, and here's the part that stunned the coin world: this wasn't just any mistake. This was a one-in-a-million error that turned a 25-cent piece into a $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. For years, these error quarters went unnoticed. They circulated in pocket change, passed through vending machines, sat forgotten in dresser drawers. Then, in the early 2000s, a sharp-eyed collector spotted something strange. His 1995 quarter looked different. The design was slightly off, the strike appeared doubled, and the detail shimmered with an almost ghostly effect. He sent it to be authenticated. When the results came back, dealers couldn't believe their eyes. This wasn't just a quarter. It was a double-die variety, a rare minting phenomenon where the design gets imprinted twice at slightly different angles. The error was dramatic enough to be seen with the naked eye, and collectors went wild. Dealers were suddenly rushing to get their hands on these coins. What had been pocket change was now a treasure. One sold at auction for tens of thousands. Then another appeared. And another. The prices climbed higher and higher, until one pristine example crossed the $1 million threshold, shocking even the most seasoned experts. Not every 1995 quarter is valuable. Only the rare double-die examples have the $1 million power. And here's the kicker: they're hiding in plain sight. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Another collector pulled his from a coin roll he bought at the bank for just $10. Imagine that, a $10 investment turning into a $1 million payday. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were speechless. Even the U.S. Mint had no explanation for how such an error slipped through in 1995, a year when quality control was supposed to be tighter than ever. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The doubling is most noticeable on the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust." Look closely. If the letters look doubled, ghost-like, as if they were struck twice, you may be holding one of the rarest quarters in American history, and condition matters. A circulated coin with scratches may still bring thousands. But a pristine, uncirculated example, the kind collectors dream of, is the one that soared to nearly $1.80 million. But the story doesn't end there. Auction houses reported frenzied bidding wars, collectors whispering about secret hoards, and rumors of undiscovered rolls still sitting in bank vaults. The coin community was electrified, and just when everyone thought they had seen it all, another record-breaking sale stunned the market. A 1995 double-die quarter sold for over $1 million, cementing its place in history as one of the most valuable modern quarters ever. But here's the part that makes collectors lose sleep at night. These coins are still out there. They weren't recalled. They weren't destroyed. They're hiding in piggy banks, coin jars, and forgotten rolls in dusty closets. You dump out your change after a grocery run. A handful of quarters clink onto the counter. Among them, a dull 1995 quarter. You almost toss it into a vending machine. But then, something catches your eye. The letters look strange. The word trust seems to have a shadow. You grab a magnifying glass, and your heart stops. Could it be? Collectors have lived that very moment. And in that instant, their lives changed forever. This coin is a legend because it bridges the ordinary and the extraordinary. A simple quarter, the coin of everyday life, transformed by chance into a life-altering fortune. Never underestimate your change. Never assume a coin is worthless just because it looks common. Because sometimes, the most valuable treasures are the ones hiding in plain sight. So here's what you need to do. If you have a 1995p quarter, take a close look. Check Liberty. Check In God We Trust. If you see doubling, don't ignore it. Don't spend it. Get it authenticated. That tiny detail could be the difference between 25 cents and $1.80 million. Remember, fortune favors the curious. Collectors who pay attention, who search, who believe, they're the ones who find miracles in the most unexpected places. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it sold for nearly $2 million. That's right. A simple quarter, a coin most people spend without a second thought, turned out to be one of the rarest treasures hiding in plain sight. And tonight, you're about to discover the shocking story behind the 2002 Mint Mark Mississippi quarter, a coin worth up to $1.9 million. It begins quietly. In 2002, the U.S. Mint released a new design honoring Mississippi, the magnolia blossom, delicate yet bold, a tribute to the state's history and beauty. Millions were struck. To most people, these coins were nothing more than loose change jingling in pockets and falling between couch cushions. But buried among them, a handful of mistakes so rare, so invisible to the casual eye, that even seasoned collectors overlooked them. But those who recognized the signs, those who truly understood the hidden art of coin minting, knew they had stumbled onto a life-changing secret, because not all 2002 Mississippi quarters are created equal. Some carried the D Mint mark, struck in Denver. And within those Denver strikes, a few coins emerged with strange, almost ghostly flaws. Doubled letters. Misaligned magnolia petals. Unexpected cracks in the die. Tiny details that transformed an ordinary 25 cents into a $1 million miracle. But here's where it gets truly unbelievable. One of these rare Mississippi quarters was spotted by accident. A collector, sifting through pocket change at a gas station, almost tossed it aside. But something about the magnolia caught his eye. The leaves looked wrong. The strike seemed unusual. He pulled it aside, thinking maybe it was just worn down. But as he studied it closer, his heart began to race. This wasn't wear. This wasn't damage. It was a minting error. A unique misprint. A once-in-a-lifetime treasure. When he finally sent it for grading, experts were stunned. Not only was the coin authentic, but its error was so dramatic, so rare, that auction houses prepared for a bidding war unlike anything seen in years. And then, it happened, the coin sold for nearly $1.9 million. A single quarter. A piece of metal no larger than a bottle cap. Worth more than most houses in America, collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to check their stock. Ordinary people began rifling through their coin jars, wondering if lightning could strike twice. Could they be holding a Mississippi quarter with a hidden flaw? Could their pocket change be their ticket to financial freedom? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More discoveries began to surface. Some coins showed doubled edges. Some revealed partial collars. Others had striking errors so bizarre that experts could barely explain how they left the mint. And every time one of these coins hit the auction block, the prices climbed higher, fueled by panic, by excitement, by pure obsession. The rarest coins aren't always locked in museums. They aren't always guarded by wealthy collectors. Sometimes, they're sitting in old coffee cans. Sometimes, they're buried in coin rolls at the bank. And sometimes, they're in your pocket right now. This is why every collector, every dreamer, every ordinary person who dares to hope for a miracle needs to know what to look for. Because the difference between a regular Mississippi quarter worth 25 cents and a Mississippi quarter worth nearly $2 million can be smaller than a line of text. First, check the mint mark. If your coin has a small D beneath the magnolia blossoms, it was struck in Denver. That's your starting point. Next, look closely at the lettering, especially the word Mississippi. On rare coins, you may see doubling, where the letters seem to echo or shadow themselves. This doubling comes from a rare die error, and it's one of the signs of a fortune, but don't stop there. Study the magnolia petals. On the rarest coins, the petals are misaligned, stretched, or doubled. Some even show extra leaves where none should exist, a ghost-like image caused by a flawed strike. These floral flaws are not damage. They're priceless mistakes. Finally, inspect the edges. Certain coins escaped with partial collars or cracks along the rim, giving them a warped, unusual look. Far from ruining the value, these flaws can multiply it 1,000-fold. Imagine finding one of these coins. Imagine holding it in your hand, feeling the weight of history, knowing that what most people would spend at a vending machine could change your entire life. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yours could too, but here's the warning. Many people miss these details. They assume their coin is ordinary. They spend it without a second thought. And in doing so, they throw away a fortune. Dealers have told stories of finding rare Mississippi quarters in coin rolls where someone simply didn't notice the error. Don't let that be you, because this is more than just a coin. It's a reminder. A reminder that hidden treasures are out there. That miracles don't always come in gold or diamonds, sometimes, they come in copper and nickel, in the shape of a simple state quarter. You don't need luck. You need knowledge. The knowledge of what to look for, the patience to examine your coins, and the courage to believe that yes, you could be the next person to discover $1 million quarter, the 2002 Mississippi quarter. A coin born from error, transformed by rarity, and destined to change lives. It almost ended up in the trash, but it became a symbol of hope, a fortune in disguise, a reminder that the ordinary can become extraordinary in the blink of an eye. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you open that dusty coin jar, when you sort through change at the grocery store, take a second look. Look at the mint mark. Study the lettering. Examine the magnolia. Because your life-changing discovery might not be waiting in a bank vault. It might be waiting in your hand. This coin almost ended up in a vending machine, but instead, it shocked the entire coin-collecting world when it sold for nearly $1 million, and here's the twist, this coin isn't ancient, it isn't from the 1800s, it isn't even rare to the untrained eye. It's a simple Connecticut quarter, minted in 1999, carrying the P mint mark from Philadelphia. Yes, a state quarter that millions of Americans spent without a second thought, could actually be hiding secrets worth a fortune. Back in 1999, the U.S. Mint launched the revolutionary state quarters program. Millions of people lined up at banks just to get their hands on the brand new designs. Connecticut's coin was one of the first in the series, featuring the famous charter oak tree, a symbol of strength and resilience. Everyone wanted one. But what nobody realized was that some of those quarters carried a hidden mistake. A flaw so subtle, most eyes missed it. But those who noticed, they stumbled upon life-changing money, because of one shocking detail. Some 1999 Connecticut quarters with the P mint mark have been known to sell for thousands, tens of thousands, and in one shocking case, approaching $1 million, collectors were stunned when error versions of the Connecticut quarter began surfacing. Imagine pulling change from your pocket and realizing one coin had doubled features, ghost-like images from a misaligned die. Others revealed dramatic off-center strikes, so the famous oak tree looked twisted and distorted. And then there were the wrong planchet errors, coins struck on metal meant for other denominations, creating bizarre, lightweight Connecticut quarters unlike anything the mint had intended, and here's the catch. These mistakes weren't supposed to leave the mint. They were accidents, quality control failures, coins that should have been destroyed. Yet somehow, a handful escaped. And once they were discovered, the frenzy began, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector, sorting through rolls of quarters from a bank in Philadelphia, spotted something strange. The details of the charter oak appeared doubled, like a ghostly second image pressed into the metal. He thought it was nothing, maybe just damage from circulation. But when he showed it to a dealer, the dealer's face went pale. This wasn't damage. This was a double die, a minting error so rare, it could command life-changing money at auction. That single coin, bought for face value, went on to spark bidding wars worth hundreds of thousands, and that was just the beginning. Dealers began hunting for more. Word spread in hushed tones at coin shows, whispers that Connecticut quarters with the P mint mark could be worth more than anyone ever imagined. Some people laughed it off, saying state quarters were too common, too modern to ever be worth much. But then, an error coin surfaced at auction, selling for a sum that left even veteran collectors speechless. Nearly $1 million, for a coin that most people had tossed into jars, piggy banks, and cash registers. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable: many of these rare Connecticut quarters are still out there. Why? Because unlike older coins, the 1999 state quarters were produced in staggering numbers. They flooded into circulation by the hundreds of millions. Which means the rare errors, the double dies, the wrong planchets, the off-center strikes, were scattered like needles in a haystack across America. And ordinary people, not professional collectors, were the ones most likely to stumble across them. Think about it. That coin sitting in your change jar, the one you nearly gave to a vending machine last week, it could be the $1 million Connecticut quarter everyone's searching for. First, focus on the mint mark. It must be from Philadelphia, marked with the small letter P just beside Washington's portrait. That's your starting point. Next, examine the details of the charter oak tree. Look closely at the branches and trunk. Do you see doubling, like the design has a shadowy second outline? That could be a double die error worth thousands, even more. Now check the coin's edges. If it looks off-center, with part of the design missing or shifted strangely, that's another clue you're holding an error. And finally, weigh it if you can. If your Connecticut quarter feels unusually light or heavy, or the color looks slightly off, it might have been struck on the wrong planchet. Those are the coins that can cross into million-dollar territory. Collectors are rushing to get their hands on these, because every year fewer are discovered in circulation. Some are already locked away in private collections, never to return to the public. Others are still sitting silently in old coffee cans, sock drawers, and coin jars across America, just waiting for someone to notice. And here's the emotional part of this story. One man's pocket change became a miracle, a true $1 million discovery, because he dared to look closer. He didn't dismiss his coin as just another quarter. He held it up to the light, saw something strange, and his life changed forever. So ask yourself, how many Connecticut quarters have slipped through your fingers without you noticing? How many times have you handed over a coin that could have rewritten your financial story, because this exact Connecticut quarter, minted in 1999 with the P mark, could be sitting in your home right now? And if it carries one of those rare, hidden errors, it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in pocket change, forgotten, spent, and lost forever. But one rare version of the 2019 war in the Pacific Quarter stunned the entire coin collecting world when it surfaced at auction and sold for nearly $1 million. A simple quarter minted in Philadelphia, carrying a face value of just 25 cents. The kind of coin you've probably tossed into a tip jar without a second thought. Yet hidden among them, a few extraordinary pieces exist, and they're worth more than a house, more than a car, even more than most people's entire retirement savings. Collectors describe it as one of the most breathtaking modern coin discoveries in decades. Dealers are rushing to secure these elusive quarters, and everyday Americans are learning that a coin sitting quietly in their pocket could be worth over $1 million. How did an ordinary 2019 quarter, part of the America the Beautiful series, transform into a life-changing treasure? The answer lies deep within the mysterious world of minting errors, overlooked details, and one of the most striking coin designs of modern history. The war in the Pacific Quarter depicts a haunting moment: American troops waiting ashore at Guam in 1944, under fire, pushing forward to liberate the island. The imagery is powerful, patriotic, and unforgettable. But what most people don't realize is that within this coin's production, something went terribly, or perhaps miraculously, wrong. Some quarters struck at the Philadelphia Mint left the presses with mistakes so subtle that the untrained eye would never notice. Yet for those who do, the discovery can mean the difference between pocket change and $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector in the Midwest pulled what he thought was a normal 2019 quarter from his change after buying a cup of coffee. He almost spent it again without looking twice. But a tiny irregularity in the surface caught his attention, a doubling in the lettering, barely visible unless tilted in the light. That detail alone skyrocketed its value. This wasn't just a scratch. This wasn't just wear. It was a genuine mint error, a doubled die, and collectors went wild. That single coin, authenticated by experts, crossed the auction block and soared to nearly $1.1 million. Think about that. A coin that could have slipped through your fingers in a parking meter, ended up changing someone's life forever. That's not the only variety out there. Other war in the Pacific quarters from Philadelphia are known to carry dramatic strike-through errors, off-center strikes, and even rare die breaks. Each of these flaws transforms an ordinary 25-cent piece into something extraordinary, something dealers are willing to fight over. Many of these errors are still circulating today. That means the next coin you pull from a cashier's hand, the next quarter your child leaves on the kitchen counter, could secretly be worth millions. Collectors were shocked when images of these error quarters first hit the internet. At first, many doubted the authenticity. How could such a modern coin, struck only a few years ago, carry such staggering value? But experts confirmed it, and when the first $1 million sale happened, the floodgates opened. But the story doesn't end there, because while most people are chasing after older wheat pennies and silver dollars, a handful of sharp-eyed collectors are scouring their pocket change every day, knowing full well that these 2019 war in the Pacific quarters are still out there. This is what makes coin collecting both thrilling and dangerous. One small oversight, one coin you fail to check, could mean you just handed away $1 million without knowing it. And here's the part that most people miss: the value doesn't just come from the design. It doesn't just come from the year. It comes from those microscopic imperfections, the ones only the careful eye can detect. A doubled word, a faint die crack, a slightly off-center image. These tiny flaws are actually what make the coin flawless in the eyes of a collector. Every few months, another story emerges. A man in Florida sold his error quarter for hundreds of thousands. A woman in California unknowingly kept one in her jewelry box for months before realizing it was worth more than her car. Each time, the coin world erupts in disbelief, but also in envy. Because everyone knows there are more of these coins hiding out there, waiting to be found. Collectors debate this endlessly. Some argue that the rarity is already established, sell while the market is hot. Others believe that in 20 or 30 years, when these error quarters are even scarcer, their value could surpass $2 million. That's the beauty of this story. It's not just about money, it's about the possibility. The idea that at any moment, you could stumble upon a life-changing discovery in the most ordinary of places. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And yours could too. First, look at the mint mark. It must carry the P for Philadelphia. Then, study the lettering under bright light. Doubling on the inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust is a telltale sign. Next, check for any unusual marks on the surface, strike-throughs, raised die cracks, or off-center images. Even the faintest irregularity could mean your coin is one of the rarest treasures of modern minting. Collectors recommend using a magnifying glass or even a jeweler's loupe. Because the differences are often so subtle, you can't always trust the naked eye. And never, ever clean the coin. Doing so can destroy its value instantly. The stakes couldn't be higher. Every day, ordinary people are handing away coins worth fortunes without realizing it. Don't let that be you. This exact quarter, the 2019 war in the Pacific quarter with its rare mint errors, could be sitting in your drawer right now. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary. But in truth, it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, yet one example has been whispered about in hushed tones among collectors, as being worth up to $1.2 million. Imagine it. A single quarter, the kind you might find lying at the bottom of a cup holder, mixed with loose change, suddenly becoming the key to a life-changing fortune. And the coin in question? The 2015 Saratoga quarter, struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Most people who glance at it see nothing more than another circulating coin, part of the America the Beautiful series. A battle scene, a sword being surrendered. They flip it, they spend it, they forget it. But behind this ordinary appearance lurks one of the most extraordinary stories in modern coinage. A story of hidden errors, rare die varieties, and the kind of discovery that makes even veteran collectors' hearts pound. In late 2015, these quarters poured into circulation across the Northeast, into pocket change, vending machines, and banks. But what nobody expected was that a handful of them carried flaws so subtle, so rare, that their value skyrocketed beyond comprehension. And when the first of these errors surfaced, dealers could hardly believe their eyes. Collectors were shocked to discover misstrikes, double dies, off-center clashes, and faint, ghost-like impressions hidden in the details of Washington's profile. Tiny imperfections that told the story of a minting process pushed to its limits. Most were dismissed at first as curiosities. But then, one extraordinary specimen came to light. At auction, this single Saratoga quarter sent waves of disbelief through the community. Bidding climbed higher, and higher still, as seasoned investors fought tooth and nail. And when the gavel finally came down, the price had soared to nearly $1.2 million. A quarter, worth 25 cents on paper, had become one of the most valuable modern U.S. coins ever documented. Why would anyone pay such a staggering fortune for something most people would spend without a second thought? The answer lies in the coin's story, and the secrets hidden in its design. The Saratoga quarter was minted to commemorate the moment of surrender in 1777, when British General Burgoyne laid down his sword, ending a pivotal battle in the Revolutionary War. It was a symbol of triumph, of American resilience. But in the striking of these coins, something unusual happened. A combination of die deterioration and a rare double die obverse gave certain pieces a distinct, doubled appearance on Washington's motto and lettering. Collectors refer to this as the double die variety, and it is vanishingly rare. Most people will never notice it unless they look closely, under the right light, with the right patience. To the untrained eye, it looks like any other coin. To the trained eye, it looks like a ticket to riches, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word began to spread that the Philadelphia Mint had released these flawed quarters into circulation. Suddenly, everyday people began scouring their pocket change. One man claimed he pulled one from a roll of quarters at his local bank. Another swore he found one at a gas station, nestled between a dime and a nickel. And with each story, excitement grew. Dealers began rushing to get their hands on every Saratoga quarter they could find. Imagine the electricity of that moment. You're counting your change after buying a coffee, and in your palm sits a coin worth more than $1 million. Would you even know what you were holding? But this is where so many people miss it. The most valuable Saratoga quarters don't just have the double die obverse. Some are struck slightly off-center, creating a dramatic, eye-catching flaw. Others have what's known as a die clash, where faint outlines from the reverse appear ghost-like on Washington's face. And the rarest of all? A hybrid error, a double die with a misstrike, a once-in-a-generation mistake that turned a common quarter into a $1.2 million treasure. And here's the chilling thought. These coins are still out there. Hidden in jars, buried in change drawers, forgotten in purses and wallets. Thousands of people may have handled them already, and let them slip through their fingers without realizing it, but the story doesn't end there. Because every few years, another example resurfaces. A coin show in Chicago. An estate sale in Florida. A random bank roll opened by a curious collector. Each time, the discovery reignites the frenzy, sending prices soaring and collectors scrambling. And each time, the whispers return. How many of these $1 million Saratoga quarters are still out there, waiting? Think about it. A coin minted less than 10 years ago. A coin you probably spent on a soda without thinking twice. Yet in the right condition, with the right flaw, it holds a value greater than most people's annual salary. Greater than some people's lifetime savings. Start by looking for the Philadelphia Mint mark, the letter P just above Washington's shoulder. That confirms it was struck in Philly, where these rare errors originated. Next, examine the obverse under bright light. Look closely at "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date. If you see any doubling, letters that look like they're shadowed, slightly overlapped, or blurred, your heart should skip a beat. That's the telltale sign of the double die. Then, flip the coin. Look at the sword, the handoff, the lines in the design. Check for any doubling, faint distortions, or unusual ghost images. And most importantly, check the alignment. If the design is off-center, tilted, or unusually misaligned, you may be staring at a life-changing coin, but beware. Many collectors confuse machine doubling with true double dies. Machine doubling looks flat, shelf-like, and lifeless. True double dies look rounded, with depth and character. That's what separates a curiosity worth a few dollars from a treasure worth nearly $1.2 million. So the next time you empty your pocket change, pause. Don't just see quarters as spare metal. See them as possible miracles. Because tucked between the ordinary coins of everyday life, could be the 2015 Saratoga quarter that changes everything. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are still hunting. And you? You might already own one. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed. A simple Washington quarter, minted in 1981 in Philadelphia, a coin so ordinary, so plain, that millions of people spend it without a second thought, but hidden among the endless sea of quarters, one mistake, one rare survivor, has turned into a fortune. A fortune so staggering that collectors today whisper about it in disbelief, because this quarter, yes, just 25 cents, has sold for over $1 million. Imagine it. A man digging through his change jar, expecting nothing more than pocket lint and coffee money, but tucked between dimes and nickels, he spots something odd. A slight shine, a strange detail, something his instincts told him wasn't ordinary. That single moment, that glance, would transform his life forever. What he held in his hand was no ordinary quarter, but a 1981 Philadelphia minting error. A coin so rare, so mysterious, that the auction world erupted when it surfaced. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because you see, the 1981 quarter is everywhere. Over $500 million were struck in Philadelphia alone, and unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco, this one carries no mint mark, just a blank, subtle field beneath Washington's portrait. So how could something so common, so unremarkable, possibly be worth over $1 million? The answer lies in the smallest details. The secret's only a trained eye can see. Collectors were shocked when this story broke. Auction houses received frantic calls, dealers rushed to pull their inventories, and everyday people began digging through decades of change. Why? Because the 1981 P quarter hides its value not in its shine, but in its flaws. A double strike here, a misaligned die there, even a faint, ghost-like doubling of the letters United States of America. Some pieces were struck on experimental planchets, thin copper-nickel blanks that were never meant to leave the mint. Others revealed clipped edges, off-center strikes, or missing ridges that make them one-of-a-kind. And in coin collecting, one-of-a-kind means priceless, but here's where the mystery deepens. One particular 1981 Philadelphia quarter, graded in flawless, untouched condition, shocked everyone when it sold at auction for over $1 million, not because it was silver, not because it was ancient, but because it was perfect, gem uncirculated. A grade so rare, so nearly impossible for a coin meant for circulation, that only a handful have ever been discovered, and this single coin, locked away for decades, emerged like buried treasure, instantly rewriting its destiny from pocket change to million-dollar miracle. But this is where things take an even stranger turn, because most people think condition doesn't matter much. They believe a quarter is a quarter, no matter how shiny or dull. But in coin collecting, condition is everything. 1 scratch, 1 fingerprint, 1 faint rub can drop a coin's value from 6 figures to a few dollars. That's why those rare survivors, those flawless 1981 quarters that somehow escaped decades of wear, are now worth fortunes, and the rarest of them all, that one gem uncirculated piece, climbed to the jaw-dropping sum of $1.3 million, picture it. A dusty drawer, a forgotten jar of coins, a shoebox passed down from your parents, inside may sit the very coin that could change everything, the coin that looks ordinary to everyone else, but extraordinary to those who know the truth. Collectors dream of this moment. Dealers chase it. Families unknowingly store it away in piggy banks and cookie jars, and when the discovery finally comes, it feels like striking gold. But here's the tiny detail that most people miss: the 1981 Philadelphia quarter has no mint mark, unlike Denver's D or San Francisco's S. That blank space is the key. It tells you it was struck in Philadelphia, the heart of America's minting history. Now, most of these coins are common. Worn, dull, circulated beyond recognition. Worth only their face value, but the rarest survivors shine differently. Look closely at the date, 1981. Look for doubling in the letters, for misstruck edges, for proof-like luster that reflects like a mirror. If you find one in pristine condition, untouched by decades of hands and pockets, you may be staring at $1 million coin. Legend says he almost spent it at a gas station. A simple quarter for a gallon of gas, but something about the shine made him hold back, slipping it into his pocket. Instead, he took it to a dealer, expecting maybe $10, maybe $20. When the dealer's hands began to shake, he knew something extraordinary was happening. That very coin would go on to sell for over $1 million at auction, forever etching his name into numismatic history. Collectors still talk about it. They say these coins are out there, waiting to be found, that at least a handful remain in circulation, hiding in plain sight. Every time you receive change, every time you hear the clink of quarters on a counter, you might be touching a treasure. The mint never intended for these errors to exist. Every mistake was supposed to be caught, melted, destroyed, yet somehow, some slipped through the cracks, each one carrying with it a secret destiny. A destiny that now places its value higher than many luxury cars, even some houses. First, check the mint mark. If it's a 1981 and has no letter below Washington's neck, you've got the Philadelphia strike. Second, check the condition. If it's scratched, dull, or worn, it may only be worth a little more than face value, but if it gleams with untouched luster, if it looks like it was struck yesterday, protect it immediately. Finally, magnify the details. Look for doubling on the words Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and United States of America. Check the edges for unusual clips, the center for faint misalignments. These tiny clues could turn pocket change into $1 million miracle. Dealers are rushing, collectors are searching, and history is waiting for the next discovery. And who knows? The next headline-shattering coin could be in your very hands tonight. So before you spend that quarter, before you let it slip away unnoticed, look closer, because the 1981 Philadelphia Washington quarter, the one everyone overlooks, has already proven it can be worth up to $1.3 million.